Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, is heavily used on the internet for standard web browsing. HTTP traditionally runs on TCP port 80. The ports can be changed for security or testing purposes, but all browsers will natively attempt to connect on port 80. HTTP is a plaintext protocol designed to transfer hypertext. Its first RFC was ratified in 1997. HTTP functions in a client-server request and response method. Generally, a client opens a browser and makes an HTTP request to a web server. The server will comply by providing whatever resources were requested, be it HTML, an image, and so on. Any application that accesses web content in any way is called a user agent. This could be a browser, a mobile app, or a search engine indexing service. HTTP resources are located via Uniform Resource Locators, or URLs. When requesting resources, a single connection can be used to transfer images, scripts, etc., which causes less latency for the transfer overall. HTTP provides several challenge response mechanisms to provide authentication. It can also employ authentication realms. This allows an authenticated user access to various authentication scopes under a single URL route. HTTP has several request methods that will perform different actions on the web server. The GET method is used to retrieve data. The HEAD method is identical to GET but doesn't include the response body. The POST method accepts some action or information from the client. This would be submitting a form or creating a post on a forum. The first line of an HTTP response is known as the status line and includes a numbered status code and a text-based reason phrase. This could be something like status 404 reason not found. They come in 5 flavors: informational, successful, redirection, client error, and server error. HTTP2 was first published as RFC 7540 in 2015. In 2021, more than 50% of the top 10 million websites support the protocol, and most major web browsers supported the protocol by the end of 2015. The protocol has backwards compatibility with HTTP 1.1 and decreases latency via several optimizations and new techniques. HTTP 3 became an internet draft in 2021, with default support in many major web browsers as of 2020. HTTP 3 switches to the Transport Layer Network Protocol QUIC, which does delivery over UDP instead of TCP to provide even more efficiencies. HTTP is a core component of any internet connection, and with the rise of hosted browser-based services, it has become essential. HTTPS is a method to encrypt standard HTTP traffic. This is accomplished in Layer 7 of the OSI model via Transport Layer Security, or the older Secure Socket layer. It creates a secure conduit for communication between the client and the server. HTTPS is commonly used for banking, online purchases, and email, or anything and everything with sensitive or private data. Today, HTTPS now accounts for most of standard browsing on the internet. Encryption protects against man-in-the-middle attacks as well as interception of sensitive information. Encrypting HTTP with TLS adds the additional benefit of encrypting all of the underlying protocol. This means the exact URL, cookies, and headers are all hidden. The encryption process hinges on digital certificates. These digital certs contain public tokens used in the cryptographic process. They are issued by Known and Trusted Certificate Authorities, or CAs. A server that wishes to host a secure website must go through the certificate enrollment process. They first create a request. This request is then sent to a CA who generates a certificate. This issued certificate can then be installed on the server. Web browsers have a list of major CAs and can verify certificates as they are presented by various websites. HTTPS is essential for modern-day web browsing communications. It provides the confidence necessary to transmit the most sensitive pieces of information over the internet. Email is an essential part of virtually every organization. Let's first discuss mail retrieval protocols, POP and IMAP, then cover mail transmission with SMTP. The Post Office Protocol is a legacy email retrieval system. The most current version is 3, which is why it is most often referred to as POP3. A POP3 server listens on TCP port 110. An email client will connect to a POP3 server, download any new emails, store them on the client's PC, then delete them from the server. Most clients have the ability to leave a copy on the server, but this isn't the default behavior. POP3 does have a secure option whereby communication can be encrypted using TLS or SSL. POP3S runs on TCP port 995. There are several authentication methods supported by the POP3 extension mechanism, such as SASL, a Kerberized version, and APOP that uses MD5. Due to its advanced features and flexibility, the Internet Message Access Protocol has supplanted POP3 for mail retrieval. IMAP was designed with the idea that a user will access their email from multiple clients. It's for this reason that by default, email is left on the server. Standard IMAP is available via TCP port 143, where the secure version, IMAP-S, is available via TCP port 993. IMAP tends to stay connected to the server, so as messages arrive, they are quickly delivered. POP allows only a single client to access a mailbox at a time, where IMAP specifically allows multiple clients simultaneous access. IMAP tracks message states also, so each email can be tagged as read, replied to, or deleted. These flags are stored server-side so multiple clients can see the state of messages. IMAP supports server-side searches also. This allows clients to pass certain criteria to the server for searching. The Simple Mail Transfer Protocol was originally defined in 1983, but more recently revised in 2003 by RFC 5321. It defaults to TCP port 25. As the name implies, it is generally used by mail servers to both send and receive email from outside of the organization. An email client that uses POP or IMAP might also send using SMTP, but it's not very likely. Clients that use proprietary extensions like Outlook's MAPI don't generally use SMTP to send email, though the server will still transfer email via this method. SMTP was originally developed to carry standard ASCII text, not files, so multi-purpose internet mail extensions were created to support binary files. Some networks will employ an SMTP relay server. The concept is only this single server is allowed to send SMTP messages outbound from the network. This is usually used to act as a spam protection mechanism. Spam bots are often thwarted by only allowing SMTP to be sent from a relay server. SMTP relays often employ some basic mail scanning to further prevent spam. Believe it or not, basic SMTP functionality can be easy to test. Using Telnet, you can connect to an SMTP server and actually send an email via plain text commands. Since email has become so necessary, this topic could not be more important. Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, is a method to carry voice traffic digitally over a network. Initially, providers released services that emulated traditional phone systems, changing out analog lines for digital. More recently, closed services like Skype have started offering new alternatives. Session Initiation Protocol is a signaling and control protocol for communications. It is most commonly used for voice and video delivery over an IP network, but can also carry instant messaging. SIP is primarily responsible for establishing and terminating these communications, but not actually carrying voice traffic. SIP uses TCP and UDP port 5060 for plain text traffic and uses TCP and UDP port 5061 for TLS encrypted traffic. SIP packets employ a structure very similar to HTTP, including header fields and encoding rules. SIP resources are marked with a uniform resource identifier, much like web resources. The URI scheme employed is usually in the form of SIP:username:password at host:port. SIP will often be employed on a digital office phone, also known as a user agent, to terminate a local or remote SIP proxy server. A proxy acts both as a client and a server, taking a call request and forwarding it to the nearest endpoint it knows. Not only will the call control between the handset and proxy server utilize SIP, but often various gateways will also. A gateway is a method to connect to other mediums like outside providers or the public switch telephone network, or PSTN. H.323 is also a signal and control protocol for communication services. It commonly uses TCP and UDP ports from 1718 to 1720. H.323 was originally developed to facilitate teleconferencing, but was quickly adjusted to be more encompassing. H.323 is most often used today as a gateway for VoIP services. The Media Gateway Control Protocol is a plain text signaling and control protocol. As the name implies, it acts as a gateway allowing a phone system to interface with a PSTN. Unlike H.323 gateways, MGCP gateways have very little intelligence as they act more as a conduit for the phone system to control. It utilizes TCP port 2428 and UDP port 2427. The real-time transfer protocol is what actually transfers voice and video traffic. RTP works in conjunction with the above signaling protocols as well as the RTP control protocol. RTCP periodically sends statistical information to participants in a media stream. It carries no voice traffic. It was originally developed in 1996 but was revised in 2003 as RFC 3550. RTP can detect out-of-sequence packets and can perform jitter correction. It also allows for multicast delivery to multiple destinations simultaneously. RTP employs an error concealment algorithm, which means it can sustain some packet loss without users noticing. Couple this with a need for audio packets to be transmitted as quickly as possible, and it's clear why RTP employs UDP as its delivery mechanism. RTP has a broad range of ports assigned from 16384 to 32767 UDP. An RTP stream should be an even port number, and the next odd port should be the RTCP port. The RTP profile type specifies the codecs used to encode the audio for the payload portion of the RTP packet. This can be methods such as G.711, G.723, G.726, and so on. There are a plethora of hosted SIP services out on the web now. For smaller organizations, nothing more than phones and an internet connection are necessary. For larger organizations, a single server can terminate SIP phones and also act as a voicemail server. Larger enterprises generally utilize multiple SIP and voicemail servers. Having VoIP experience is often a plus on a resume, so don't hesitate to get your hands on some.